the Trump administration is planning a military deployment in Chicago. Summer is getting longer in your town, and a 92-year-old sprinter is sharing her tips for healthy aging. That's some of what we'll get to on the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Christina Quinn, in for Hannah Jewell. It's Monday, August 25th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. Number 1. Chicago officials expressed anger over a Pentagon plan to send National Guard troops to the city. This weekend, the Post reported that the Pentagon has been considering options to deploy Guard members in Chicago as soon as next month. If the mission is approved, Chicago would become the 3rd U.S. city to face a recent deployment, following crackdowns in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. Administration officials say the deployment in Chicago would be in the name of addressing crime, immigration, and homelessness. But city and state leaders called the idea unlawful and unnecessary. The Democratic governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, says the state is not experiencing any emergency that would warrant a National Guard presence. Chicago, a city of roughly 2.7 million, has experienced a decrease in violent crime since a COVID pandemic-era spike. That mirrors patterns seen in other U.S. cities. Meanwhile, in D.C., National Guard members are now carrying weapons. Some were spotted this weekend with their sidearms visible. Vice President J.D. Vance says the U.S. can still broker peace between Ukraine and Russia. That's number 2. This month, President Donald Trump held separate in-person talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But since then, progress toward peace has stalled. The two sides seem to have incompatible demands, and while the White House claimed Putin had agreed to meet with Zelensky, Russian officials said yesterday that no such meeting has been set. In an NBC interview broadcast yesterday, Vance said the Trump administration still believes there has been progress toward a deal.
I think the Russians have made significant concessions to President Trump for the first time in 3.5 years of this conflict. They've actually been willing to be flexible on some of their core demands. They've talked about what would be necessary to end the war. Of course, they haven't been completely there yet, or the war would be over, but we're engaging in this diplomatic process in good faith. We are trying to negotiate as much as we can with both the Russians and the Ukrainians to find a middle ground to stop the killing.
Meanwhile, Trump has repeatedly said how much he wants a Nobel Peace Prize, but his path to receiving the honor appears unclear. The Post reported this morning that 3 members of the 5-person panel that decides who gets the prize have publicly criticized Trump. Number 3. Tens of thousands of undocumented students in Texas face astronomically higher bills this fall. Texas had long given discounted in-state rates to undocumented students living there. Then came a Justice Department lawsuit this summer. Attorneys argued that federal law preempts in-state tuition for undocumented students as long as any U.S. citizen is required to pay out-of-state rates. The case was settled within 6 hours and before any affected students had a chance to weigh in. Critics accused the two sides of being in legal cahoots. Now the Justice Department is seeking to end similar tuition breaks in several other states, including Kentucky, Minnesota, and Oklahoma. Some countries are suspending postal deliveries to the U.S. That's number 4. First, here's a little Latin lesson. In the classical language, de minimis means something too small or insignificant to be considered. For decades, a rule known as the de minimis exemption has meant most imported goods with a value of $800 or less were exempt from tariffs. That will change this Friday. The de minimis exemption is set to end, though letters or personal gifts worth less than $100 won't be affected. A number of mail companies around the world, from Europe to Asia and the Pacific, have responded by suspending some mail services to the U.S. That could mean delays in receiving packages, which may also incur tariffs of $80 or more. Number 5. Summer is getting longer in many parts of the country. In recent decades, sweat-inducing temperatures have been arriving earlier and ending later in the year. An analysis of U.S. weather data shared with the Post shows which places are experiencing notably longer summer seasons than they used to. Temperatures are spiking to levels typically seen in June earlier than expected and lingering longer at the end of the season. In Washington, D.C., for example, the city's northwest area used to see summer temperatures starting at 73 degrees begin June 9th and end September 6th. Now the city starts to have summer temperatures around June 5th and cools off near September 11th. The southern United States has seen the most warming, gaining an extra 2 weeks overall of hot summer temperatures. If you're curious to know how much longer summer has become in your town, we've got you covered. Find the tool in our newsletter today. There was a surprise on a list of jobs facing the highest risk of being replaced by AI. That's number 6. Last month, researchers at Microsoft published a list of the 40 jobs most at risk of being replaced by AI. At number 2 was historian, behind interpreters and translators. But some historians told the Post they are skeptical that AI is coming for them. They say AI programs can't truly understand information and contextualize it the way historians do. Instead, they hope that the technology can be used to speed up research into massive document collections. So will historians become a thing of the past? History will be the judge. And at number 7, a 92-year-old sprinter's body could hold clues for healthy aging. Emma Maria Mazenga likes to win. At 5'1", the Italian is an elite sprinter with 4 age group world records to her name. Last year, Mazenga broke the outdoor 200-meter world record for women over 90 with a time of 51.47 seconds. A month later, she bested her record by a second. In both events, she was racing against herself. By some measures, she appears to have the cardiorespiratory fitness of someone in their 50s and her muscle cells of someone in their 20s. Now, researchers are trying to understand the secret to her success. Mazenga's advice for other older athletes is simple: know your limits. Meet with your doctor first to make sure you're fit to start running. Then stay consistent. So if you're in need of a bit of Monday motivation, look no further than Emma Maria Mazenga. All right, you're all caught up. Thanks